Once a chemical engineer, always a chemical engineer. Or is it? Hey there, welcome to ChemEngWeekly. Chemical engineering and careers is always a hot topic, which is why, as you can tell from the title of this video, we'll be exploring a little different aspect of chemical engineering that perhaps isn't talked about as much. In this video, we're going to discuss the kind of main career options that chemical engineers have, as well as the unheard of ones, so make sure you watch right until the end to get all the information. And before we digress too much, let's dive right on in and count down the top 5 industries you didn't know employed chemical engineers. But just before we do that, we should cover the main industries that chemical engineers usually go into. There's quite a number of these, so I'm just going to start out by listing them here. The list includes energy, food and drink, textiles, biorefinery and pharmaceuticals, water processing and treatment, and oil and gas. These are all considered as standard industries for chemical engineers because they deal with the bread and butter principles of chemical engineering, namely scale up, both upstream and downstream. Whether you're going from an API to rolling out a drug worldwide, or going from a single monomer to large industrial-sized sheets of polymers that will be used in industry, both of these industries use the common ideologies within chemical engineering, namely fluid mechanics, separation processes, process analysis, so on and so forth, making these our bread and butter chemical engineering industries. But what are the non-standard industries? And without much further ado, let's look at our top 5. At number 5, we have teaching. Now this is the least unexpected profession for a chemical engineer to go into, because almost any completed degree opens this door to go into teaching. While it could be fair to argue that chemical engineers would mainly open the doors to chemistry, maths and physics professions within the teaching world, their use of teamwork, communication and other soft skills, such as leadership qualities and coordination, make them very viable assets to be teachers in the future. They would have a good development of soft skills to enter teaching at different levels, such as secondary school, primary school and also university, provided they are qualified enough. And a couple of training modules later, chemical engineering graduates could find themselves being teachers. And at number 4, we have nuclear engineering. Now this might not come as much of a surprise either, owing to how you can take certain modules to graduate with a chemical with nuclear engineering degree, but generally speaking, the engineering disciplines are quite interchangeable in skills between them, with the 6 to 8 key engineering disciplines being mechanical, chemical, electrical, geotechnical, biomedical, aeronautical and other subdivisions. They generally have a shared focus on planning and strategy when dealing with large-scale projects. And so therefore it's not actually that unexpected for somebody with chemical engineering to go into nuclear engineering. The common tasks of process monitoring, health and safety checks, carrying out maintenance work and working out what problems are and rectifying them, as well as designing and building the reactor in the first place, are all something that your chemical engineering degree would help accommodate you to. The general modules that make this industry accessible are reaction modelling, material and energy balances, reaction process loops, analysis, and many, many more, which definitely shows the viability of chemical engineers being employed as nuclear engineers. At number 3, we have banking and finance. An umbrella term used to describe the related fields within finance and other monetary aspects of banking. This can range from a number of different roles, such as actuarial science to real estate and trading to consulting. Because banking is such a broad umbrella term and there are so many different job roles within it, it's quite naturally very competitive, especially for STEM graduates. And chemical engineering, whilst definitely a viable degree to apply into banking with, it is still quite competitive but viable to be employed in nonetheless. Chemical engineers are often employed because of their good grounding within teamwork, management, problem solving, economic analysis, as well as more, and the fact that they are able to pick up skills quickly, which is key in the banking industry. This is because within the banking industry, 90% of the stuff you can actually learn once you start the job in specific roles. And with things like consulting, where design project and group work has already put chemical engineering graduates into that environment, makes them a viable option to pursue. But once again, it is important to reiterate that banking and finance is extremely competitive to get into, so only the chemical engineering graduate who has properly researched what they are going into would be able to secure the role. Taking us into our top 2 is computer and data scientist and software development. A little bit more obscure in terms of the chemical engineering graduate degree set, it is definitely a viable option, owing to how chemical engineers often do have to use the use of programming languages and IT skills throughout the duration of their degree, using things like MATLAB, Excel, Aspen, HYSYS and more to help them complete their projects. This gives them a good fundamental grounding within the use of technology and the use of coding and programming languages, making them much more versatile to picking up new languages such as Java, Python, C++, C# and more, meaning that employers see this as something that is good in terms of their ability to carry out things like interface programming and AI modelling. Now before we look at number 1, let's look at some honourable mentions. A chemical engineering graduate skill set is very versatile, and some of the other professions, which there are countless of, that could also be unexpected include patent technology and law, pilotry, quantum chemistry, economics, astronautics, governmental work within the civil service, and also business management. However, some of these careers actually require retraining or further training, meaning that they wouldn't be so simple to get into, whereas some of the other ones, such as patent technology within law, would be much more straightforward. And finally, number 1, completing our top 5 most unexpected industries that employ chemical engineers, we have defense technology. This was definitely unexpected, to say the least. Defense technology is often overlooked by the average citizen because they do a lot of work in the background to prevent external threats from influencing or interfering within the running of a country. So sometimes they have to work in such degrees of secrecy that the general person would not know about what they do. A large part of what they do is the development of new technologies and practice targets to test out, which is something that chemical engineers have the correct skill set to go into. This is particularly geared towards chemical engineering because chemical engineers dive deep into testing and designing new processes. And although this is not the usual testing and design that chemical engineers are used to, it is still within the reaches of their degree. In particular, the study of system boundaries, non-equilibrium transport and reaction modelling come in most useful for a graduate applying for a role within this industry. And that's it. Those were the top 5 industries, in my opinion, that you didn't know employed chemical engineers. Of course, there are many other professions, including the ones we had in our honourable mentions. Make sure to comment down below which ones you think I've missed. Do make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and for more content, hit the bell icon to make sure you're never late. And with that comes the end of the video. Thank you for watching the video. Be sure to like it if you enjoyed it, and leave your comments and suggestions down in the comment section below. Don't forget to follow us on our social media channels, and if you click here or here, you can watch another one of our videos. Click up here to subscribe, and thank you very much.